Wish, a film that it looks like a good bit of you heard me rant about last week, has one of the most half-baked systems for magic that I've ever seen in a film, which is saying a lot because when you get down to it, magic is a tough system to make plausible in any kind of mass media. It used to be simple back when people were more accepting of simple setups for storytelling, but with so much mass media needing to be fleshed out to every tiny detail, it's far too easy to either get caught up in the details with all sorts of crazy rules, some of which have their own textbook, that are obviously only in place to set restrictions for the story to carry out the way that it's supposed to, or to appear to slum it as you give the characters too many capabilities to a point where there's no conflict as your character basically becomes God and therefore becomes too invincible. The best systems I've seen in films like Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Lord of the Rings are systems that have rules and limitations, just not ones that are really talked about in heaps of exposition, at least not until George Lucas is given more power. Wish, being the rushed and conflicted production that it is, ended up incurring the worst of both worlds, as it simultaneously gives too much range to its characters' capabilities while also pretending like they only have a certain level of capabilities for the sake of conflict in its story. It's as convoluted as it sounds. First, there's Magnifico, which with a name like that, how could you not be the world's most generic magician? I'm not kidding. The capabilities of this guy are so by the books that it just feels like they're making up things as they go. Like, what can sorcerers do? Well, they can make stuff move, so better make that quill move. Memory erasing spells? Yeah, why not? Part of the problem with this setup is that we really don't know where his capabilities stop and therefore don't know what his weak points are as an antagonist. If he's capable of erasing people's memories, what prevents him from, I don't know, looking into the thoughts of the townspeople and seeing what they're up to? Again, not that I need heaps of exposition for him, but his magical capabilities feel less like fleshed out personality traits, I mean, he'd have to be a fleshed out character for that, and more like a checkbox for every sorcerer trope that's been in a Disney film. Then it becomes even more confusing when he pulls out this dark book of his and starts casting darker spells, but apart from turning him crazy, which he was already doing, we never understand the difference between his light powers and his dark powers. How have they increased his capabilities? He seems like he was capable of a lot before, so really, what's changed? Oh, he's turning evil! Well, he was already turning evil the minute Asha started questioning him, so again, what's changed? Oh, the shadows around him got darker. Okay, now that makes sense. Then there's this rejected Mario Galaxy pawn, a little star that's come down to Asha after she's looked up at the stars and made her swell of a passionate wish to them rather than to Magnifico. So naturally, he must be down there to grant her wish. Nah, just kidding, he's not capable of granting her wish. But he can make animals talk, which would be cooler if they had anything funny or interesting to say, or if they could rhyme. So okay, I don't expect every character to answer every call to the T. It actually makes the story slightly more engaging that he's not instantly capable of granting her wish. But it also just adds unnecessary weight to the story that already has a ton of weight to begin with. He suggests to Asha that they break into Magnifico's castle and steal the wishes, but she doesn't really need him or this pain in the ass goat that I totally want to rip the fur off of to do that. If anything, both of them cause more problems than they solve throughout the journey, as they constantly cause Asha to either get caught or almost get caught stealing the wishes away. I mean, wouldn't it be helpful if Star could at least, oh, I don't know, make a wand that could turn things huge to give Asha an advantage over Magnifico? So Star makes Asha a wand that turns things huge to give Asha an advantage over Magnifico, and he does it in the freaking third act! Yeah, could've used that like a freaking hour ago. Turned chickens huge and you couldn't send an army of those things stomping in? Again, it comes down to what are the limits of his capability. You act like he can just float there and make mushrooms talk and then do this crap? I mean, can he also make Asha a magic wand that can grant any of the townsfolk wishes so that she can be a fairy godmother to them? The Star makes Asha a magic wand that can grant any of the townsfolk wishes so she can be a fairy godmother to them. Do you mean to tell me that you could have given Asha a magic wand and given her godlike capabilities and allowed her to perform anything with any type of magic at any time?
No, not at any time. Only when it was funny.
God help me, I'm trying the best I can. All of this leads to a climax that, much like the rest of the film, makes no sense and proves how much of a half-assed effort all this was. Magnifico traps the wishes in a force field. Again, he's capable of that now, which makes him more powerful and allows him to tower over everybody. We still don't know what threat he poses to everyone, but because the film needed the townsfolk to overpower him more than we needed them to overpower him, capability that was skimmed over in this Disney Channel Christian rock song from earlier, where everyone's a star and has powers and capabilities that are them, or some like that, kicks in and allows the townsfolk to all make wishes to overpower Magnifico or something, allowing the wishes to be free of his force field and for Magnifico to get trapped in his scepter. Sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds like the sort of half-baked climax that only a half-baked societal system and a half-baked system for magic would give us, as foreshadowed by the half-baked song lyrics and half-baked character developments. That's not to say any of the Disney films in the past had the most polished or scientifically accurate systems for magic. Again, much like Phantom Menace, or another good example, Sorcerer's Apprentice. Yeah, remember that shit? It would ruin the fantastic elements of those systems if they did that, but at the very least, those films knew what they were trying to do with those elements. Frozen was trying to distinguish the coldness of solid solitude from the warmth of loving relationships. Beauty and the Beast was putting the Beast up on a trial to help him discover the capability of unveiling your inner beauty even beyond outer monstrosity. Wish simply wanted to get a fantasy film out there with scattered elements from other Disney films that clearly didn't fit together, like Wishing Upon a Star, A Fairy Godmother, and so on, without ever once knowing what to do with them or how to cohesively tie them together. It just kept making stuff up as it went along, and yet kept pretending like we already knew the limitation of these scenarios. But we didn't. And as a result, the whole thing just ends up messy, confusing, and cold. It's the perfect definition of a passionless, soulless, and magicless disaster of a fantasy world that only a passionless, soulless, and magicless disaster of a film would give us. And I'm so glad that between these two videos, I've gotten out pretty much all my thoughts on this film, and I never have to look back at it again. With that said, I need something else to wash the foul taste out of my mouth. Perhaps something that's also messy, but at least has the benefit of, oh, I don't know, a pair of leads that carries the charm of the film even with the script carrying them through lacking that much charm. Yeah, that'll work.